is that fucking possible? Now, how can you not understand what I just fucking said? In my political endeavors, I can't imagine getting elected, not anybody coming after me, or, I might get assassinated. That's probably more the likely thing to happen. A year from this coming May. And I have only a 98.2% approval rating right now. So my approval rating can only go down. Maybe it'll go to 99. But I'm not delusional like you. I don't believe that. But getting back to your question, you got to manage it. You got to be tough. And they don't respect you if you're not tough. You saw one slide yesterday. They decided instead of quit, let's just kick back and not do anything in the office. Remember that slide? My daughter says, Daddy, if I fucked a donkey in the lobby in front of the chairman and the CEO, I couldn't get fired. Now, how is that fucking possible? That's not right, in my opinion. But there were several studies done, 20, 25 years ago by General Motors, IBM, et cetera, and these new pockets of business like India, other parts of Asia, and they came up with, and this study's never been published, it takes 1.7 Asians to equal one Caucasian's work ethic, 1.78. That's never been published. Unlike the 3,700-page report from NATO about the world's over. It's never been published. But there are pockets within Asia, like southern India, Bangalore. Jack Welch, Steve Jobs, and Bill Gates are the smartest people in the world come from southern India. That's why we went there, Bangalore, back in the day. And they get 3.3 times the job as one white Caucasian. But if you go to Bolivia, they have the sombrero syndrome, with a big hat, or they have the aloha syndrome, like in New Zealand. They're walking around in flip-flops, or Akiria, that island that they live to 120, but they have no GDP. They have no gross national product, none. Other than tourism, they come and look at, I said, do we get to see a couple of 110-year-olds fuck or something like that? The little tourist girl said, fuck, and Sally said what Dan meant to say. Now, how can you not understand what I just fucking said? But Sally's been doing that for decades. Comments about the Goombas. They're shitting money. And and when they were here at the seminar, there were certain things they would pick. They wanted it to be like a Chinese menu. I'll take a little wonton, I'll take a little this, take a little that. They wanted to do the things that were most comfortable for them. And then they realized that they all connect. And so now, it didn't connect with them emotionally to pay lawyers 3 or 4 times more than they're paying their current lawyer. It didn't connect with them to pay the accountants 2.5, 3 times more than they were paying their current accountant. But then when they saw the results, and results talk. And when I first saw the sign, and the guy that showed me the sign, sensitivity equals poverty, was Jim Newman. Class act, I don't think I ever heard him say a swear word. But when it came from him, sensitivity equals poverty, Mr. Pena. And you can relate in your own universes of life. There's a hand up. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. In terms of an asset sale, I suspect that receivables and cash accounts transition over to us, the acquirer.
Oh, no, it depends on the deal. Because as they said, they let them keep their working capital and the receivables, I think he said, yeah.
And then he went and...
Yeah. But then now Jason's a very smart kid. I'm sure he figured out in about 2 seconds what the line of credit was equivalent to. And it was probably 2 or 3 times over what the cash and the receivables were that he was going to keep. And there's something about when you do an asset deal, the owners it feels like you're ripping their guts out when you take the cash.
How about work in progress?
Well, it depends where it is. And so, but these guys and gals, it's like you're ripping their baby out of their womb before it's born. It hasn't grown in 7 years, and actually it's increasing at a decreasing rate, which is the same to me. It's increasing at a decreasing rate. I'm sure, Mr. Jones, the last thing you want is for this thing just to fall to shit when you're dead. You say pass on. What do we say? When you fall, I used to tease people, your exit strategy is falling dead in your in basket. Now, they don't have too many in baskets anymore, right? But it was graphic, and the wife was, I told you, Henry, I told you you're going to die, And normally, the wife or the it wants them out. They want to enjoy life a little. Now, occasionally you get a bulldog of a gal who's a workaholic, it's like Leanne and Graham were saying, TK's wife was saying, stop doing work while you're there, because they're still doing work. I have a board meeting. We're going on the Ritz-Carlton cruise here in a few weeks. And it's supposed to be the creme de la creme bullshit. We'll see. And so I got 2 board meetings while I'm on the fucking cruise via Zoom. I don't like Zoom board meetings, but we can't postpone them. So I got to do them while we're on the cruise. Now, years ago, Sally would have fucking put her foot down. But now that we're into doing meetings, or board meetings, I should say, some of them via Zoom call, she's okay. She would be out by the pool. But she says when she's out by the pool, she can hear me screaming from our suite. We have an owner's suite. She can hear me screaming 3 decks away, 150 yards down, because that's just the way, that's how I talk. The other comments or questions are about the Goombas. Okay, any questions about the 60-40 or the fucked up deal that got saved by Co-America with $200,000? And when you call them at 5 to 5 and you say you need money, and they say, well, you got to get down here to sign, you now know you don't have to be down there to sign. Verbal contracts are the same as written contracts. They're just harder to prove. So when they give you that, it's a load of shit. Now in India, they want you to come down and sign so you can pay them some money under the table, which you can't do over the phone, over a Zoom. Are there any banks where you live? There are? I mean, near you. How close? Like an hour. Like an hour, that's close. Oh, that's cute. That's cute. Okay, no questions on this? Okay, it's 5? Okay. Now, this is the flavor of the day for offices. At least one of you I know has a treadmill and a standing desk in the group here. And about 25% of the kids, standing desks, walking treadmill. Even a guy that's reasonably fit in here, let's say Mr. Belgian Waffle 2, you lose 20 pounds in a month, and he doesn't have 20 pounds to lose, but he'd lose 20 pounds walking 6-8 hours a day on a treadmill. The going rate treadmill is 4 kilometers an hour. Now, I can't do a walking treadmill and work on my computer. I'm not that coordinated. At 4 kilometers an hour is a bridge too far for me. I can only do it at about 2.7, 2.8 kilometers an hour and walk and chew gum and type on the treadmill. But that's what they do. I don't know if Marcus said in this webinar, he doesn't have time to exercise, but he walks on a treadmill 6 to 10 hours a day. And he doesn't need to lose weight. One of the things that normally we cover the last day, but I'm thinking about it right now, is that I told you no breakfast, at least for me. No breakfast, no lunch, no dinners, but it runs the gamut. TK is an old-time guy. He likes breakfast, lunches, and dinner, okay? In the South, lunches and dinners are big. In the South, lunches and, it's one of the things I didn't have to overcome, but when people, they used to get, in the beginning when I first was there, in the early 80s, they got insulted if I didn't go to lunch with them, that fucking Mexican wetback, what's so great about him, The norm, get a car and a driver as soon as you can, because the time for commute when you're driving 2 hours, I believe and I've proven that the hub and spoke method of management is premier, meaning your hub is where you are. The spoke is 2-hour drive in a 360-degree circumference. One man, woman, or it can probably do more than that, can cover that ground and manage it pretty well. When you go beyond that, that means you can get there, do your business, and get back in a day. Now, so that means you're in a car at least 4 hours. And you can't afford 4 hours without taking care of business, i.e. Your laptop and with a driver. And there's varying degrees of drivers. There's really expensive chauffeurs. And then there's, drivers. I would recommend that you start with just a driver, not an expensive chauffeur. Exercise at least 3 times a week, 30 to 45 minutes. That's all that's necessary, 3 times a week. We only have 2 6-packs on that wall, meaning they have 6-packs, the guys. Actually, both of them have 8-packs, because there's actually 8, We only have 2 6-packs on that wall. So much for exercise. But the most successful, including myself, did it to break up the day. I didn't consider it stress, but I guess it was stress. I used to, and then when I got a phone that I could connect to my ear, I had 2 breaks in my long career where I got into bodybuilding for about 2 or 3 years, and then I got into long distance running for 4 or 5 years, where I ran marathons and stuff like that. But I always had the phone on my ear when I was running. What? Oh yeah, I ran 100 miles. Yeah, correct. Less than 24 hours. Yeah. In September of 1977, I ran the Boston Marathon, qualified. I'm running 3 50-milers on the weekend. I used to run 20 miles on Saturday and 40 miles on Sunday. And And Mickey Gorman, God rest her soul, she was a world record holder. She gave me a mercy fuck because I used to train with her twice a week, the slow day. They were my fast days, but they were her slow days. She used to hold the world record. But when I lifted weights, I went to a former world champion. When I ran, I went to a former world champion. I have 96% of my muscles are slow twitch, which is not good for building muscle or doing anything, being coordinated, but they are good for long distance running. But I didn't figure this out until I was in my early 30s when they were testing me and they said, well, you have no fast twitch muscles or very few fast twitch muscles. Although then I tried to prove them wrong by I took anabolic steroids and I got up to almost 300 pounds. I was a big fucker and I got pretty strong. And it's not a big deal. I bench pressed 400 pounds. I deadlift 800 pounds. I mean, I was pretty strong. But but in the world of strength, I wasn't a fart in the wind. But I mean, but whenever I do something I get the best I could find. And normally they were expensive. Mickey Gorman didn't charge me any money. I mean, I was her mercy fuck, give back, I guess. And I got the guy to train me. Laszlo Chivori was the third guy to break the 4-minute mile. Now these people are available, but if you don't ask, you don't get. Laszlo didn't charge me any money either. And a lot of these people will do it just, a mercy fuck, a give back. And they're available. Some of the other things that the high performance kids do, and by the way, this is one man's opinion. This gluten shit is a hand job. I'm supposed to be gluten sensitive. I snort gluten. That's like global warming. I wish I had come up with it first. And all that shit, I was looking at the menu thing of the various things that you don't want or you can't eat or whatever. Now, rumor has it, I'm not saying this is true, I will neither confirm nor deny, that we gave halal food to Jews and kosher food to Muslims. I will neither confirm nor deny that. Nobody died. And in my own mind, the halal food we gave to the Jews made them holier, and the kosher food we gave to the Muslim made them more holy. It's all a load of cock. Well, you haven't been checking your food too closely then, have you? Yeah. But some of the other things that the high performance people do, this is not a networking event, by the way. I said it in the beginning. They don't keep in contact with each other. Now, the super elite guys like Andreas, and Marcus Bauer, they know each other. And so Bavarian Bob and a few others I don't want to say correspond, but they email or, text. And because the Viking bitch has gotten so famous, and there's two Viking bitches. There's Viking bitch 1 and Viking bitch 2, and which were both in Omaha, and they're both big girls, and they play basketball together and this kind of, so the Viking bitch 1 has gotten pretty famous. Now, I don't think she's in Google as Viking bitch, but she's pretty easy to find. But they don't give out, they're not looking to go skiing together and shit like that. They don't do that. Another thing that the best kids do is they get their kids, if they have kids young enough, they get their kids training in QLA. As you heard, Tony Goomba, number 1, they listen to the QLA. They listen to QLA at breakfast. On the weekends, they take 2-3 hours on one day a weekend, and they have some dumbed down training for QLA that's even more simple than QLA for dummies. They don't handpick, but they orchestrate who their kids can be friends with. They orchestrate carefully who their kids can be friends with, because poorness rubs off and you build self-esteem the first 7 or 8 years. They orchestrate. Some too strongly, even for me, they bully, and so then they got built up resentment with their dad. The dad won't let them say anything. I've been through that because I did that. And you can overdo QLA vis-a-vis social training. You can do it. When we had tennis courts here, I made my kids play tennis twice a day, rain, sleet, or snow. I had professional tennis pros come here from Dundee, Aberdeen, and Edinburgh to train them. My kids hate tennis. We made them dress for every meal. Black tie on the weekends, suit at night. And the short pants, my son wouldn't get married in a tuxedo. And there's several other things that I overdid. We used to go to Mass, and then we go to a fancy white glove restaurant for a brunch Sunday, and not tools, but forks and knives and shit to use. The only thing that I didn't drive out of their life was golf. When I built the golf course, they enjoyed, Sally thinks that because they could get away from me, they jump in a golf course and the boys would go out and play the golf course backwards and sideways, etc., but without me. And so I don't know, I can't confirm or deny that, but they still have a love of golf. So, but they took karate and kung fu, taekwondo, and I beat that out of them too. They got up to brown belts, and they said, "We're not going to be a black belt because you want us to be a black." Yeah. So you can't overdo it. You cannot overdo it in business. Cannot. The harder you work and you follow the steps, the more successful you're going to be. Making your kids wear tuxedos, I mean, that didn't work out. But I mean, I can guarantee that the other thing is the harder you work and you follow the steps, one, it gets easier, and two, you'll build generational wealth. And once you build generational wealth and you see what your work results in, there'll be no turning back. And those guys are like very much like the Goomba brothers who you just saw and Marcus Bauer. I mean, they only know one way of life. And everything is being all you can be, everything. And by definition, some of the people that you deal with now will fall by the wayside because one, they can't relate to you anymore. Two, you're not calling them. Three, you're not returning their calls, and it'll be natural attrition. Well, that's a slow way. That's a non-confrontational way. The best way is, for those of you that have cell phones, you put a message on. You block everybody's number, and the message says, if you do not have my new number, you're not part of the rest of my life. That's the absolute way. And but that you would consider that confrontational. I don't know what you would consider it, but it's fucking effective. It's fucking effective. So you will choose in your lifestyle going forward how much pain you're willing to give out and how much pain you're willing to receive vis-a-vis your P-priced action. Now, to me, there's only one way. Not just because I never felt any of the pain, because I don't suffer from empathy, sympathy, or self-pity, but I don't want to know how to read how painful or insulting that you may find that. And then pretty soon you have very few people contact you unless it's for business. And I've been at this now many, many decades. And so I get maybe one call a week. Some weeks I get no call. And our children have to make an appointment to talk to me. It's very structured. Any questions? Yes, ma'am. Is this a C center?
I hope it's not
Okay.
Did you homeschool your children?
No. If I had it to do over again, that's a very good point. Thank you. And I know everybody says that's a good question. That's horseshit, don't you? When everybody says that, that's just giving your pea brains time to get an answer together. Do you think all these fucking questions and comments can be, that's a great question? That's a response from a weak cunt. I wish I had it, but I didn't. It's not my top 5 regrets, but that's a regret. I wish I had it. Then I could have really orchestrated and made him like that, fucking like clay, like God, But I didn't. I'm not having any more kids. When I had a vasectomy, that's a great story. Sally says, "Oh, you're the only one that thinks it's great, Dan." But when I had a vasectomy a long time ago, I said, "What's the biggest mistake these guys have?" And he says, "Because they find their old flabby ass wife gains too much weight, and they dump her, and they go find a young girl, and then they want to have a vasectomy reversal." And I said, "What's the way to preclude that?" And my mother would tell me, "There's no fool like an old fool." But anyway, how do you stop that from happening? And the doctor said, he laughed. He said, "Well, it's major surgery because we can go in the office and we'll give you a shot and I can snip the thing now." No. I don't want to go back and be a moron 25 years from now. So the major surgery is they take the tube from its inception up in your body, and they take about that much tube out on each side. And it's like a hysterectomy. I mean, God himself couldn't make me produce again. God himself. And I was in the operating room, and they draw arrows now when they're going to cut on your leg or something like that. And there were arrows at my groin. And I'm sitting back there, and they said, "Now count backwards, Mr. Pena." And I go, "Oh, by the way, I'm in here for a gallbladder operation. Am I not?" And then I went under. I passed out. And so they were trying to get a hold of my wife, my lawyers. "What is this shit, gallbladder?" And then they said, "I'm sure Mr. Pena was just kidding. He doesn't want to have any more kids." And he said, "Does he know the gallbladder has nothing to do with having kids?" And then they said yes. And so if I had to have kids, I was a pussy. I sat on a big, inner tube under my butt. And I walked like something was wrong with me. And I said, Jesus Christ, if man had to have babies, there'd be about a 500 million people on the planet right now instead of 7.5 billion. It's a bitch, but that's the closest I'm going to come to childbirth. So I respect gals because of that. But God himself couldn't, And I've never been sued for sexual harassment or anything like that. About 20 years ago, 15 years after I had a vasectomy, some bimbo came up and said that she was carrying my kid, and I just laughed. And so it wasn't so funny because, but there's no way, sweetheart. You must be the Virgin Mary. This must be a virgin experience because it's certainly not my kid. And then, oh, you're not Dennis Pena? What? And the other comments, who's my 5:30? 6:30. Okay. The last of the gals.